Hi there, everybody. Bill T with Paint Minis Live here. Just wanted to say hello. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. We have a special stream today. Got a big announcement to make as well. Um, just gonna be doing some simple painting today. Gonna be painting up a D&D Human Fighter that kind of comes with this announcement too. Um, And with that being said, I haven't been streaming the past couple of weekends. I've been out of town doing a little me time, traveling and going to see some pretty cool stuff. Um, but after a long winter, I had a little cabin fever, and I think it was definitely time to go and enjoy the summer. So I took a little time off while our channel is still in its infancy. Um, and I'll make sure to give a little bit more of a heads up next time that happens. But a couple spontaneous trips and a couple that were planned, and it just kind of fell being weekend after weekend. So there's a little update for you on on our streaming schedule, but we're gonna be getting back to it right now, actually. So let's before we get into the painting part of this, I wanted to just make a quick announcement and say thank you to a collaborator that we've started talking with and has been really receptive to us. His name is, his channel name is The Dungeon Delver. And his channel specializes in advanced D&D and like old school Dungeons and Dragons kind of topics, and his name is Bill Sylvie, and he's just like a lot of fun. He's a really great guy who just loves spreading seeds of like little nerd lore nuggets everywhere. And he has got some really cool guests that he has on the show. In the past, he's talked with like people in Dungeons and Dragons history, and in an effort to kind of like make sure that we're not just another copy paste, Warhammer painting channel, I thought it'd be great if we kind of dug into some of the Dungeons and Dragons model line, as well as just explore other model lines in the future too, because I love painting Space Marines. I love painting orcs or whatever have you, but I also want to bring content that everybody can enjoy, whether you're a Warhammer player, a fantasy painter, or just somebody who's painting die-cast cars or something like that. Maybe you'll find something here. I don't really plan on doing vehicles and stuff like cars, but maybe some of the stuff that we have for like tanks and stuff later on down the road, maybe you'd find that interesting. But please take a second, grab yourself something to drink, and come hang out with us over here at Paint Minis Live. I'm trying to line up some new guests to be on the show too. Jack hasn't been around to the stream in a bit, but hopefully he'll be returning soon to finish up his Imperial Fists in the future. So the Dungeon Delver collaboration project all kind of started off when his channel caught my eye. He was covering some stuff on the parent company of the creators of Dungeons and Dragons, and there was some shenanigans going on there. So I dug a little deeper, and just like first thing right off the bat, this guy's got a massive shelf of models, and he's got this huge collection, as well as like some Space Hulk stuff, and even like some older 40K models. And I got really intrigued by that, started talking to him, and found out more about him along the way. And I reached out to him. I was like, hey, we'd like to paint you up a model to put on your shelf. You got this big collection, and wouldn't it be cool to like send somebody something that we painted here on stream?" And I said, I'll buy you a model, I'll ship it to my place, and we can paint it up here on the stream, make a big thing out of it. And he got back to me. He was like, "You know what? I think that'd be great, but I got a better idea. Let's actually bring it out to the community, and let's let both of our communities know about it. And if you have seen in the past, I've put out some like text posts stuff. I'm still kind of getting used to that, but some text posts about the project and saying like, "Hey, go check this out," because he wanted to have a couple different model sets to choose from and have people vote on it, and then send us whatever the winner was to get painted up slick as snot here on the in the Paint Minis live creation cave. And the voting went great. There was a ton of people that came out and took a look at the model sets. There was like a wizard's tower kind of like set, some hirelings that were there, old school Deathwing Terminators, like the chunky metal minis. They were out there. What else was there? And then the big granddaddy red dragon from Grenadier was out there, and I saw that picture. I was like, "Oh, that's an intimidating paint." Like, it's a cool. And all these minis are just that old-fashioned cast pewter mini model kind of thing. The kind of cartoony a little bit, but just these big old blasts from the past. And so it was up for the voting part of this was up for a week, and there was about 150 votes cast, which I was so excited about. Getting it, being able to put your name out there in front of that many people was a little, it was kind of exciting, knowing that people were taking a look at us. And what a great opportunity that we've gotten from Bill Sylvie over there at Dungeon Delver. He's been real kind to us. He mentions us a lot on his streams since the start of this project. And I couldn't be more grateful about that. So the voting concluded on Saturday of last week, I believe. And he was trying to get the model out to us in the mail. However, we had a little issue. He wanted a special base, so he's in the middle of printing that up. So in light of kind of a dry spell of stuff to watch, I'm doing up this Human Fighter, this D&D thing, just to kind of get a sense of the scale of these models, because they're a little bit different than 40K. As well as trying to get those creative juices flowing back again. And once we get our hands on the Red Dragon, which was the winner of the contest, or the voting, I should say. Once we get our hands on that, we'll probably have to do a stream of just unboxing this thing. It's a legacy miniature. It's an older one. In one of Bill's messages he sent out, he said to us, because I've been talking with Jack and also Sarah, who's going to be doing some social media stuff for us. She's joining the team, and I'm sure I'll talk about her a little bit later. But in one of the messages that he sent to us, he said that the Red Dragon model itself is out of print, and there is a company in Italy, I believe, that's recasting a lot of these old Grenadier miniatures from Dungeons and Dragons. And he said that one in particular, the mold may have gotten scrapped. So it's like a gem kind of a miniature. It's the needle in the haystack kind of find. I did some research about it. I really couldn't find much on the internet besides past sales of them, and It's a pretty penny to get a hold of to get a hold of one of those dragons. So we're gonna treat it with a lot of care, a lot of respect, because it's kind of a relic of the past. And Bill is the nerd Smithsonian when it comes to anything old school gaming related. He's definitely got a lot of older miniatures that they just don't make anymore. And he loves talking about them. He loves talking about anything old school nerd related. With that being said, though, uh, let's take a quick look at take a look at this fighter real quick. So this is kind of I just took it out of the pack already, just because I wanted to kind of get I wanted to get stuff going with it right off the bat. But this was from their pre-primed miniature set that they've got going. Let me just sorry, I'm gonna get that guy a little closer in here so you guys can see. But it's pre-primed and it looks pretty well primed. It looks like a thinner prime was put on here, not a lot of detail loss. So I've never really worked with pre-primed minis, so this is kind of going to be an experience. But as it's nothing I'm going to have to strip and take off. It's pretty well done. The model itself looks like it held quite a bit of detail. And you get two of them from this little package here that I picked up at the local hobby shop. The sword's a little bent. He's got quite a big bend in his sword there. I suppose it's not the shape of your sword, but how you use it. And so this, I think maybe one of them is for like this guy is your fight, like actually when you're in combat, and then you have kind of more of a social situation kind of guy, or one of the two. Not sure. I think it's just here's two minis. Have fun. I'm not sure exactly how these were made because I'm not seeing very many mold lines on here. Yeah, no, it was a pressed mold. It looks like there are some. They're just pretty well hidden. So I'll give them that. You know, it cost me a couple bucks, whatever it was, to pick these guys up. For the price I paid, this ain't bad. I would say that this is pretty decent. And I would, if you're looking for minis to paint for your Dungeons and Dragons game, this is looking like a pretty good option, like right out the box. Good detail. The priming is well done. You get a couple of bases. These are some of the thinnest bases I've seen. It's just kind of more like a disc wafer kind of base here. It's pretty rigid, but very thin. It's like almost like a token or something. So I don't think I'm gonna actually mount them on their bases. I'm gonna keep the bases just in the pack here. So another thing, when I was watching I tried to catch up with the Dungeon Delver and just kind of make sure that I'm tracking with his channel too and be interactive with him and make sure that we're communicating through that way too, and give him a little love and an extra viewer for his streams. And he had his co-host was on there at the last stream that I watched, and it was his birthday. And I thought, hey, you know what would be great? I can paint up a mini for his co-host, and that'll be like a little birthday gift from Paint Minis Live to you. And that's kind of what I intend to do today. So, with that being said, I don't need primer because it's already... I thought I was going to have to do like touch-up priming, which kind of, now getting a real good look at it, I'm not going to have to do. So I think, that being said, we're gonna start up this paint job and do a little pre-planning. I'm probably gonna want some darker colors on this guy. It's the scale of this model is way different from like 40K. This is your average Space Marine right here. That's how big your old school Space Marine is, and then you've got your human fighter here, and it's almost like maybe an Imperial Guardsman or less. They're just it's quite a bit smaller in scale, and it's got a lot of detail on it, which is I'm probably gonna end up using smaller brushes on this project. So let's just get those guys out of here. I don't know how I'm gonna fix his sword. It's got quite the bend in there, bud. So let me grab some paints real quick. I got the compressor going. Just my whole stack of paints here, pardon me. But I kind of wanted to show you how I go through and take a look at these paints. I kind of just left them in the shipping trays because I think it's kind of nice. I'll end up putting them in what I like to call the mobile paint studio, which is just a large container, like a tote style container, probably about 20 gallon, maybe about 20 gallons, something like that. Big tote, your usual put it in the closet kind of thing, or storage tote for your Christmas lights, whatever. And inside that tote, I put my my lights in there. I have two, like just portable desk lamps. I put two lights in there. I put my paints, which I keep in their shipping container, or shipping, yeah, I guess container plastic thing. And then I put one of my airbrush spray booths in there so that I don't mess anything up on anybody's table or wherever I'm working. And I keep the air clean too. If you ever go to like a game shop to paint, a lot of the time they won't let you bring in an airbrush because whatever you're spraying will just end up in the air unless if you bring like a spray booth. And you can get a portable spray booth for some cash nowadays. And if you're super into it, it's kind of a worthwhile investment. So I'll put that in there along with whatever models I'm painting. I'll bring a little squeezy bottle for water, palettes, brushes, whatever else I'm going to need, airbrush, as well as a compressor. The compressor fits in the tote too, which is pretty nice. But I leave my paints in here, and I kind of just try to sort them anyways by color hues to be similar somewhat. And then when I'm done, it kind of just all goes back in there until the next time I reorganize it. That being said, let's pick out some paints. I'm definitely going to get my arm in the way here. So just taking a look at this guy. He's got kind of like a reed or some kind of like wooden shield. He's got a vest on. I'm thinking his vest is going to be like all leather. Definitely like a leather thing going on. The box art had this necklace kind of being golden. I'm not sure if I'm totally in on that. So purple is kind of not really going to be needed, I don't think. And I'm going to just go on to the next one. Got some transparent colors. We're definitely taking transparent brown. Love transparent brown. We're probably good on the rest of the transparent colors until I really need them. They're kind of more that stuff. Yellow ochre. We'll take... Probably black brown. We'll definitely take black brown. There's probably going to be a lot of browns in here. I'm just eyeballing what has he got on him. You know, it looks like a lot of leather armor, which is fine, but I don't want it to be all just leather stuff. So we'll figure out some other colors to splash in there too, I'm sure. These look like all metallics. We can toss those to the side. Let's see here. Dark umber we'll take. Light umber we'll take for sure as I drop my keyboard. There we go. Mahogany might be a fun color to put in there. He's got like some... Is that an armband? I think he's got an armband. We might do like a... Might do an orange for that. Yeah. I guess the rest of them, like a shadow flesh for sure is good for just getting him painted up, and maybe like a pale pink. So we'll start with that. We'll just get him based. We get him based in browns and darker colors to bring out some contrast in them. All right. Now we're gonna need a palette. Looks like I'm gonna need to clean that guy off at some point. Brush soap, I tend to just use the Masters. It's cheap and easy for the most part. Although I have been looking into Monument Hobbies. They have Jen's brush goo, I guess they're calling it, something like that. I've been looking into wanting to try that, so I might pick up a little tin of that to give it a go. Highly recommend brush soap though. It's great for keeping your brushes lasting longer, or extending the life of your brush, as well as getting the paint out of them, because it all soaks into the ferrule, which on a brush like say this one, you can kind of see the paint has gone up into that ferrule a bit, and as much as I try to keep that out of there, it just kind of ends up doing it. These brushes pull the paint far back in here. Just something that I'm still learning and trying to master myself. But yeah, that'll give you a little brush anatomy here. You know, you've got the grip, the ferrule, the barrel of the brush is kind of where all the paint sits, kind of right in the middle between the tip, the ferrule, and there's the barrel of the brush. You can look on Google for more information. I'll make a better video on brush anatomy in the future, but just a quick little primer for you for terminology. If you're looking at anybody else on YouTube, which if you're a model painter, I hope you do. Like, as much as I want to be your one-stop shop, there's tons of people who paint in different ways, and that's the beauty of this hobby, is just being able to paint in many ways, and constantly be learning So do that. We're gonna need some thinner brushes. I'm gonna take a number 2 synthetic. I'm gonna take a number 0 in sable hair. And for a basing brush, we'll use a number 6 synthetic. So those will be our brushes of choice. Toss the rest back in the tube. Alright. Not this, that, and the other thing. So this one's gonna be a little different. We'll just start with Sorty Boy here. We'll start with the little Sorty guy. And then we'll go on to other dude. That sword doesn't look like it's gonna come out of whack for us. So I'm thinking, first off, I've always kind of wanted to try just like transparent color over a over like a bright primer like this. So I'm gonna take a minute and do that. Let's get this brown shaken up. So I've got the nail polish shaker going on. That ought to do it. Let's get a little on our palette here. So I found something kind of interesting. These wipes, I've worked at a paper company for a while now, and we had some of these wipes at work, and they were just kind of tossing them out. And I found the manufacturer for them actually, and these are like a specialty kind of wipe that's got thicker fibers woven into it, so it's still kind of like a mixture between your normal kind of paper towel and like a mechanic's wipe that you'd see in like an automotive garage or something. And I've really liked them. I think in the future I might end up opening a little web store with stuff that I like and can source to bring out to the world, because these wipes are really nice. It's nice to have kind of quality stuff to work with when you're painting, and I prefer these guys. So we're just gonna get right up in there. I'm gonna actually take a little bit more of that off and try it out on his. Wow, that is bright though. It's almost slap chopped when you do it like that. Not sure. That is extremely bright. Almost like you need to add shadow back into it. I'm not sure if I'm on board or what. I'm just gonna keep going with it and see what it looks like when it's a bit more on the model here. And thanks for humoring me here. This is just kind of an experiment. I've never really done transparency right over it. I guess let's see what it looks like when it comes right out the pot without wiping off the tip. You've got to put it on there pretty heavy. I know a lot of people out there are using the slap chop method. Uh, Not sure how on board I am with that. I haven't really given it a shot either, but I'm just working my way around his vest here to get the kind of get the effect going. Sorry, I'm way out of frame. It's definitely kind of an interesting effect going on here. Let's see if I can get this to focus in. Kind of just looks brown on the camera, but there is a little bit of contrast going on here on this vest. Kind of looks all right. I think we'll keep it. We'll highlight it up. It needs a bit more schnaz to it. It's not a ton going on besides just being brown with some highlights already. So we'll have to do something about that. But that being said, I'm gonna keep working on it. So went to a new local gaming shop to pick this guy up. I haven't been to one where I live quite yet. New transplant and whatnot from a different place. I just haven't had time to check it out, or at least the gaming scene, anyways. It's a pretty schwanky place. They had some models, but it was mostly like role playing games, stuff like this, and card games. Nothing really crazy for like Warhammer. Which I kind of miss. Miss being able to go to the game store and yuck it up. So just going and coming around. I'm basing this guy at this point. I'm not really worried too much about if I hit something that's going to get painted later, because I'm going to color the rest of this in a different tone, I think. Nice thing about these thinner paints, though, is they're definitely going to keep your detail a bit better. Never be afraid to rotate your model. Get all up in those nooks and crannies and crevices. That way, no matter where somebody looks, it's gonna look really nice. I gotta admit though, I'm pretty impressed with the quality of this guy, minus the sword. Like the bent sword. And I think that's, any model with smaller overhanging pieces like that might get damaged in shipping anyways, but just one of those things. Maybe they could have given him a dagger or made that sword thicker. Would have probably been a good choice in their manufacturing process. So that's looking pretty good. Kind of impressed with the process here. I at first I was a little on the fence, but as it's kind of coming out, it kind of is just highlighting itself with the white underneath it. I kind of would like to put a bit more into it later on, but I'm gonna let that dry and hit up the next guy, our social boy, or I guess maybe our social boy. Not sure if this is the fighter or the more sociable like character that you'd put out on the tabletop, but let's give that a go. And then he's kind of got this like he's got this skirt kind of thing going on, but it looks like he's just tied a hoodie, kind of middle school style, around himself. So I think we're gonna make that a color. That's gonna end up being a color of some sort. But we'll tackle that too. I'm just gonna add a squirt. Just a drop or two of water in here. This is a little needs a little extra oomph to get going. Kind of treating it more like a wash at this point than a true paint, because it seems to be working really well like that. The primer is reacting pretty well to this paint. I got no real complaints about whatever primer they're using. I'm finding that it's a little hydrophobic in some places, but it's like not a deal breaker. It's just a little bit hydrophobic, meaning that the water is when I added more water to the paint, it seems like it's gotten a little bit more runny than I would expect on most primers. I know the Monument one that I've been using is pretty grabby, and by that I mean like even if there's water on there, the primer will just hold it in place. This is kind of making it run, which, to be honest, it's not bad. It's kind of just doing most of the work for me, which I won't complain about. So we've got interesting. Yeah. So now I'm kind of just going over the spots that I did previously, but just trying to get it a bit patchier. I'm more or less like stippling the brush in places, just to give it a bit more depth. Because it seems like it's kind of pulled a bit. Maybe I added too much water in there. Not sure. We'll see how that turns out. All right, there we go. Well, that's looking pretty good. We'll let that part kind of dry out. I didn't need a ton of water, so I'm just using a well from the palette here. What to do next on these guys? I'm thinking we could probably do their shield, or yeah, we could probably do their shield. We're gonna do their shield in a black brown. Have I opened this guy up before? I don't think I have. I have. Wonderful. So I'm gonna do it with a black brown and highlight it with dark umber. So I'm going to let that shake up for a minute here. This is starting to dry really nice. Not bad. I thought I was going to be using the airbrush today, but that's probably not going to be the case. So this black brown, it's pretty dark, which I like. It's going to make a nice little woody tone to it. So I didn't add too much there. I think I added too much. Yep. It's like, let's just go from the squirty bottle onto there. No, not happening. Try that again. There we go. I think there's still too much water in the barrel of my brush here. There we go. Yeah. I want it to be damp, but not like, I want it to be damp, but not, like soaking wet. I think that's what could have happened here. Yeah, this primer is quite a bit hydrophobic. I mean, my paint's not that thin, is it? So I guess, yeah, a little word of warning. Word of warning. Primer tends to be a little hydrophobic on flat surfaces. Because, like, it's not bad. Though, it's a wetter paint than usual, but that's because I wanted to highlight from it, but do I have to just, like, take it straight from the pot for this? It's not much thinner than my usual Warhammer style. So this is pretty ultra thick paint that I'm about to squeeze up on here. It's just like I can't get it to stick on the shield very well. Yeah, it really likes the thick paint. But now I'm leaving behind a ton of brush strokes, which I'm not huge on. But so yeah, especially on flat surfaces, this primer is pretty hydrophobic. I don't know, I guess it's kind of adding to that wood effect that I'm looking for, but let's do it to the other one. There, yeah, there it goes with the hydrophobic thing again. On the back of this shield, it's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like if you've ever had Rain-X on your windshield, and it's just kind of clumping up due to the like moisture content in the paint. And I think it's maybe because the sculpt is just so flat. It's just not accepting the paint very well. Which is why it's important to experiment with your primer. If you're like a can't remember the name of the what is it? Like Krylon, yeah, Krylon spray paint. If you're one of the people that like would rather just go and Krylon it out with some white primer or whatever, just note that that's probably never gonna come off. But whatever color you prime it in, if you're gonna go with a Krylon rattle can or Army Painter rattle can, or if you're gonna do it with an airbrush, no matter what color primer you choose, just like take note of how it reacts to your paint. Some brands are very some of them are kind of more frosted, so to speak. Like they have a lot of grip to them, like an insane amount of grip. But maybe they react more hydrophobic to water, and you'll have your paint start to only go in certain places where you don't want it to, even though you've like properly thinned your paint or however. So you kind of gotta, if you see that happening, try and go a little bit thicker. And some paints are very they're water hungry for some reason. Some primers are water hungry, and they'll end up just taking a lot of that the water content out of your paint really fast. Your paint will dry really fast. And sometimes if you want to do something like wet blending, where you're taking one color, putting it on your brush, and then putting it on the model, and then taking another color, putting some on your brush, and then blending the two together in a specific style of painting, which I have not covered here yet. If that's happening and you're if you want to do that, usually you get a ton of liquid on the model, and having something that's really water hungry like that, you won't be able to wet blend your paint as well, which can kind of end up with some problems later on in your process. So just like take note of what your primer does and doesn't do. And working with this, I'm kind of just trying to take notes for myself. Even when it's thick like this, it's kind of doing it on me here, which is fine. I'll work around it, but I'm basically having to take it straight from the pot right onto the model. The coverage is nice though. Like I mean, it'll cover it, but it's like basically very thick paint. It seems working best for this on the back side of the shield where it's so flat. Let me get it. Let me get it going back on there. Okay. So now we can have this dull brown shield going on too. It's kind of nice that they give you two because I haven't really stopped working since I've started this because I've got two models to paint. This one's looking pretty dry here. Just need a little extra. A little extra right there. Cover that guy up. Cool beans. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and shake up some dark umber to put on his shield. So he's got a spear going on here. Couple other pieces of leather equipment that I'll paint up. I'm thinking maybe along his hands. He's got like some hand wrap thing going on there. So I think on those hand wraps, I'll end up probably making those some kind of color. And then his, like, whatever that necklace is, I gotta think of something to put there. The box art for this had like a gold kind of necklace going on. I'm not sure if I'm really gonna go that direction though. All right. I'm just kind of taking my brush, striping along the shield here in just various patterns. I'm not trying to cover up that other brown. I'm just trying to kind of, it's almost like camouflage. I'm trying to break it up so that the next layer that I put on here will look a bit, it'll stand out to the eye a bit more. And what's nice is I'm probably going to end up using this for the leather too. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Let's kind of change the hue just a little bit on it. Let's get up to our other guy. That paint's dry. Kind of thinking this shield is almost like wicker, like on a chair, because it's the texture on it looks very similar. So I'm kind of treating it that way. Trying to keep some kind of grain content on it. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus on that at all. I really need some better cameras in here, but you kind of get the idea. It's just breaking up the monotony of the color behind it. All right, cool beans. So we'll call that good on the shield for now. And I'm going to take some more of this paint, and this is going to be the color for the rest of the leather on him. Alright, gonna wipe my brush off here. Get back to the, looks like I missed a little bit on his vest here from that other transparent brown. I still got some from the palette here that I'm gonna sauce on those places. Alright. Just looking good. If you can kind of see how the straps on his back are contrasting a bit in just a little subtle way. There we go. It's funny, every time I bring it back to the camera, I'm like, oh, there's a little bit. There's a little bit that didn't come out. Alright. getting hard mode concentrated here. All right. Trying to be a bit more careful on these leather strips. Just because at this point, we're, like, the paint job on this is going to be only not that long. I mean, obviously we're going to add some detail to it, but he's just got a lot of the same colors going on. That's a-okay, as long as we do it up, make it look pretty and nice. It'll turn out just the way we want it to. He's got a pauldron there. We're definitely adding metal to that. We might just do some like bracers or something on him too. Just to kind of cut up the entire brown deal coming on here. I get the brush bath going. Clean my brush out. Always a good idea to keep a clean brush while you're painting. It just helps the paint flow better, in my opinion. Alright, we got some brown on him. Let's get our more sociable or our more fighter guy. I'm not sure. I've never really played with these D&D models, so I'm not really sure exactly why you get two of them, but that's kind of dope. I would really like to be able to get a bunch of social space marines in my pack with G-dubs. Just slowly working my way around him. No sense in rushing. Enjoy the process. It's about the journey, not necessarily the result. I mean, the result's great too, but gotta enjoy yourself along the way. Starting to see some more detail that's a little bit pushed out. He's got like a secondary knife going on. He's got a little knife tucked into his belt. go back for more dark umber. I tend to work with just a drop or two at a time. And if I kind of mess up the paint thinning ratio, stick another drop in there. Doesn't hurt it. Just making it more paint. And if you use it kind of drop by drop like that, you're pretty efficient with it. I mean, you're going to run out of paint at some point. Okay. I need a smaller brush. We're not going to make our way all the way around with this guy with the basing brush. We have gotten to that point, everyone. We have gotten to that point. Get a little hydration on there. So when you go to a smaller brush size, something to remember is that you'll be going back to your paint more often because it'll be drying on the brush faster. All right, here we go. I'm going to go back to what's left of this transparent brown. Okay. It's a lot of brown. It's a lot of brown. But we'll fix that up. We'll fix that up. He's got a bunch of knives in his belt. Neat. So, let's see here. It's not barefoot, that's for sure. It looks like he's wearing some sort of like armor on his legs. So, we'll figure that one out a little later. All right. This guy's looking pretty good on the leather department. All right, we're gonna move on. We're gonna do some highlights on the shields. The shield next. With let's see here. Done with that guy. Done with that guy. Light umber. We're only going to need just a little bit of this because it's the highlight color. You don't really usually need a ton of highlight color. I'm going to wipe my brushes off again. Just make sure they're clean before I go back into grabbing some more paint. Getting just a little extra water in here. This primer is really loving the fact that I'm just basically taking it right out of the bottle. But I like it a little thicker, a little thinner than that. That's actually a pretty good effect. That right there was what I was kind of hoping for. Just some very, it's a little glary, but like just some very light back and forth kind of almost scratch pattern marks on there. And it kind of looks like it's woven, like woven fabric. Or not fabric, but like woven, like a woven chair kind of effect going on. I don't, like wicker material, whatever that is. I just know they're called wicker chairs. But it kind of looks, it's kind of giving it that effect on his shield, and that's what I was really hoping for here. I'm running out of paint. Yeah, it's kind of a thing with these smaller brush sizes. You'll run out of paint faster. I mean, you'll get some really good detail out of it, but pretty deliberate brush stroke on that kind of pattern effect. It's like just just down really fast. You kind of wanted to create like hash marks. And you'll end up with a really pretty, very subtle detail on there that looks very nice. And it's just a hue higher than your undercolor or the color under it. It kind of creates this weaved effect. It's great for stuff like thatched roofs on like um, like fantasy terrain. It's great for that kind of stuff too. So I'm sorry I'm getting a bit more quiet. I mean, I try and host this as kind of a talk show thing too, but just really getting into the meat and potatoes of this now, and I'm just kind of starting to catch on into the meat of it. And in that case, I'm trying to focus so we get a good, pretty result out of it. Nice. So now the next thing we're going to do is for these leathery areas. Let's see here. I need a little bit more of that transparent brown. Where'd you go? Gotta have you on backup because I keep finding little holes in this guy's tunic thing. Cool. So the next step in this is to get some of that leather pulled in a bit more, and highlighted with this same color that I just did with the shield part. Although this is going to be even more subtle because they're really close together in color. So the dark brown starts peeking out underneath the lighter highlight just a little bit, and it creates more contrast. I'm digging it. I'm not trying to totally take away all of the dark brown that we've put on there. Just trying to highlight it. So far, so good. We're getting there. That's for sure. I try and usually get away with the biggest brush that I can handle for a specific area, just because you have that much more paint and that much more working time with your paint. Because this brush will run out of paint pretty quick. What we're working on here. Alright, I'm going to have to switch back to that basic brush. Can't really do it with this guy. Just for the sake of time. Alright. I'm just kind of getting the spear going. Anywhere else that needs this color brown? Obviously more on his shield, but yeah, that ought to do it for now. Cool beans. Let's get the back of his shield highlighted as well while we're at it. So say, I'm wondering, anybody who's watching this, now or in the future, what are you painting? What are you up to? Have you thought about painting? Are you currently painting? Have you painted in the past but dropped it? Like, what's going on? Curious, you know? It's always interesting to hear what other people are doing, and if you'd like to let me know, that'd be great. Also, never be afraid to let me know what you want to see. Or if you just want a rant on some specific, hobby-related question, or just have an interest in something, want to know more about some certain thing in the hobby of painting models or wargaming. I haven't been around as long as some people, but I've been around. So if you got any questions, let them fly. Because I remember when I was first starting out and trying to build a network of people and some people to paint with, it can be difficult sometimes getting those questions answered. And especially if you have somebody outside of your little modeling group, always helps. Hmm. Hmm. Taking a look at his legs here. Trying to make a plan for that. I started putting on some of this same color, but I'm like, man, gotta do something. I think definitely the back of the legs are just gonna be dark. I don't think I'm gonna go that hardcore with it. So I'm just gonna make the back of the legs here this dark black brown color. Also, I gotta get rid of this guy. There we go. Trying to make sure I'm not missing it. That the primer on this, that blatant white is going to be super visible. So if I don't cover with at least something, it's going to give me an effect I don't really want. Cool beans. All right, I got something back there, anyways. So that'll do it. That'll do it. Ooh, almost lost my brush. How are we doing on time? Okay. So we're looking so far so good. The shields came out really nice. If I can just show that to you. Yeah, there we go. See the shield came out pretty well. I think that's not bad. All right. Okay. So what else do I want to do here? We got some highlighted leather. That's looking good. Probably gonna need some metallics. We could probably do some metallics. There's a decent amount to be done, so I could break that out. And then probably work on the skin. Um, let's see. If you have any suggestions, I don't know if anybody's tuned in this early in the stream or not. Let's check it out on the YouTube studio deal here real quick. Da, 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 da. Looks like I ran through an entire playlist. What do you know? Still trying to figure out YouTube. You know, it's like you finally take that step and you're like, yeah, sure, I'll share this with the world. and then learning the background of like actually how to use the stuff to get out there and show people what you're doing. It's a little tough to see. Okay. Cool beans. Let me just leave you with some gunfire. Okay. Moving on. Let's see here. Get some metallic colors out. I like metallics. I do. I like, you know, these shiny colors. A lot of people are like, do non-metallic metal, it'll change your life. And I look at them and I say, ain't nobody got time for that. Okay, maybe I do have time for that if I really want to become like a Picasso or something of miniature painting. I'll take the time to learn metallic metal. A lot of people are saying it really helps you figure out where light is coming from, but to be honest, if I was going for a course study in miniature artwork or something like, well, not miniature artwork, but if I was going for doing some kind of study or whatever, that would probably be, I would probably go after that. But when it comes to me and just my little hobby painting stuff, I'm not quite there yet. And you know what? That's okay. I've just accepted that about myself, and that's a good thing. Looks like we have copper, bright gold. We've got rich gold, which looks kind of like a mix of copper and the regular gold itself. It's a metallic medium, so you can make any color gold. Transparent yellow, silver, dark silver, light bronze, and white gold. So we have some avenues. Bronze is pretty close to white gold, it would look like. So, yeah, definitely going to use copper because it's kind of sitting with our brown tones already. And maybe we'll use the, like, let's see what they're looking like there. Kind of hard to tell. One's a bit more orange. Let's use, I don't know, copper and this rich gold color. We'll use that as the highlight. Call it good. Cool. All right. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. One piece at a time. We're making our way downtown. So let's see here. Copper. That's really kind of interesting. They matched the color copper pretty well. definitely need to be shaken. Does this one have the no? Okay. So that gets shaken up here. Um, I've been talking with the dungeon delver a bit more about this project, and he's kind of hoping to kind of stay true to the old school box art, which that's totally cool. Um, I think I'm gonna add, some flair to it though, and make sure that I really try and pinpoint like shading and highlighting just to give a ton of dynamic range. I'm gonna be picking up some more paints from Monument Hobbies. Hopefully that'll be in time to use it. Um, but I'm gonna be really focused on that stuff for that project. Things like making sure talons are at least tritone color uh, going on it, so that you have a shadow tone, your base, and your highlight, and then bringing it out even further with washes um, will be a big thing. So I'll have to so we'll make up some washes to really highlight the detail. Because on some of those old models, there's the detail is much larger. It's not quite as like a fine detail. It's a bit smaller. So here's our copper color. I'm gonna get just a dab of that. These metallic paints. Look, that is really pretty. Wiping it off on my. It's like liquid metal. How fun. Just gonna break that paint down a little bit with the. Needs a little bit more. Man, I'm just out of practice on the mixing ratio today. There we go. Got a little bit of that copper on the like leather wrapping of his weapon there. But I think that's gonna work out. That color's gonna work out really well for us. It looks really nice. Well, that being said, I need to take a quick break here, and I'm gonna grab some refreshment. Find out what's down here in the Paint Minis Live mini fridge. I'm pretty sure I've got a couple of Mountain Dews left down here, which is gonna help me power through this project. I'll be right back. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That is some liquid motivation. Feeling like a kid again. Painting models and having a Mountain Dew. I love the nostalgia factor. Just a little water in that. Nice. That is a really pretty color. I don't mean to like fawn over colors, but that brass color is really pretty, almost like a rose gold kind of thing. I'm not sure if the camera's picking that up, but it is quite a nice color. I think that's really going with our model quite well here. Why not put a little bit more at the bottom of his tabard there? Roman Legion style or something. Some kind of buckles hanging on down there. There we go. Why not experiment a little? Live it up. Kind of just following this very dark, rich color scheme going on. I mean, it's pretty standard for the day. You know, it's a medieval mini, so it's kind of just a lot of brown, dark color coming from the earth. Let's go ahead and give this a highlight. I don't think I'm. I don't think I'm gonna do his sword as bronze. I think I'm gonna leave that silver just for the fantasy factor. But man, that his sword is. Well, maybe now I got it a little bit less out of whack. Still likes to pull to the left. All right. So let me get this rich gold shaken up. We'll hit on that next. You know what? I'm gonna go and pop on Discord and message the Delver crew, just in case you're interested. Let's see here. How do I get to there? There we go. I feel like a boomer trying to get the YouTube link for them, and yeah, there would be a button called share. Nice. Oh boy. Let's see if I can get a picture for him too. There we go. That'll work. Trying to do photography live on stream. Check it out. Hey B, how you doing? Let's get the sauce a little picture in there. All right, cool beans. Hey, how's it going? Welcome, welcome, Bill, to the Creation Cave. I'm just doing up Kyle's Human Fighters. I picked him up. It was like a 2-pack of them. So you'll have to. I'll have to get in touch with him. I think I've communicated with him over on your Discord once or twice. But I'll have to get with him and contact him. A lot of brown going on this stream. So that's been fun. I think we're just getting to the fun bits now. I'm gonna do up their armor. How's your weekend been going? So for anybody watching in the future, next I'm going to take kind of this more orange, uh, this orange gold from Monument Hobbies, and I'm going to go over the copper colors, same way I did the leather, and try and put a little highlight on the spear tip. Just trying to get some kind of highlight on there. Hell of a week. Second try on printing the base. Oh, okay, yeah. Um, okay. Yeah, I gotcha. Hey, I'm just learning about 3D printing right now, and as you can see, I've got one back here. Still kind of working out the layout of the creation cave. Hey, what's up, Imperial? Nice to see you. But I got one back there, and I still haven't figured out how to use it. Like I unpacked it, and I realized that now I've got a whole new learning curve. So you take your time, man. You take your time. We got stuff around here. Um, let's just say we actually went out and we got a little surprise for you in store that well we're not going to be showing it on stream because I know you like to check in every now and then. But it's going to be a pre-tape thing. But we got another little surprise coming for you when we send your dragon back. So just to add to the tension, you know, just to add to it. Looks like I forgot the spear on this guy. Let's see, what brown was I using for that? We're using light umber. So say, as long as I got your ear out here, Bill or Imperial, maybe you guys know, like, so there was two human fighter options at the two human fighter options at the game store that I went to, and they were both like, you know, Dungeons and Dragons licensed minis or whatever. One of them was a little larger than this one, and I'm not sure if this is like the opponent or like the NPC version, or if this is like a if this is supposed to be the player character version model. I have no clue about their miniature range other than like their monsters are pretty sick, and I know that those are, you know, probably usually not player characters, but because I got two of them, and I didn't know, like, is one for fighting, like this one's for fighting, and this one's for like socializing or something, where it's just social situations. So maybe you guys could educate me a little bit on that one, because I'm not huge on the D&D thing. I just recently started like last year with a little group. Oh, what's my preferred method of painting? You know, honestly, there's so many ways to go. Like you said, sponges are a great thing to use for making like stippling effects, and I use them primarily like on vehicles and stuff. I really prefer airbrush, but on something this scale, it's almost impossible to airbrush. You'd need something like uh, this guy I haven't gotten a lot of practice with yet, but this is a Harder and Steinbeck Infinity, and this needle runs down to like a point 0.2 needle size, so this does extreme detail really well. I haven't put enough time in with it to really do models like this with an airbrush, but on something in a different scale like Warhammer 40K, you can definitely get away with airbrushes. and making detail with airbrushes. Okay, what is this music? Needs to skip that. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Sure. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't gonna be sending him something that was like, oh no, it's not the right one. Um, I gotta get some silver out. Time to do some armor. The types of paint I use for models, I'm an acrylic guy. I really am. I think it's just easy to work with. It's a bit uh, they stink a lot less when you run them through an airbrush as opposed to like oil based paints or anything like that. Um, they're water based, so you don't need anything else. And most of the time, I'm kind of painting on the go. Like I have a mobile paint studio that's like in a 20-gallon carry tote, and I put lights in there. I put an airbrush spray booth in there. I'll show you that guy. He's over here. I put that spray booth in there. It collapses and just folds up. Uh, I put a compressor in there, my airbrush. I put all that stuff in there, and then when I go and I'm away for a weekend up north in the woods or whatever, I'll bring that with me, and I can get a ton of work done. Well, just while I'm not really doing much. We could probably put away a couple of things here. There we go. So next up, I'm going to be doing the armor here with dark silver, and I'm going to be doing white gold for it, just because I feel like that's going to contrast a bit better. Yeah, so the my method to the madness, like these came pre-primed, and I found that the primer on here is really hydrophobic. Like I've basically had to run this straight out of the pot for most of this model. Very little water whatsoever. And I'm not I at first I was really loving it. Because I was using a transparent paint, and there's whatever surfactant in there is not water. But once I started using uh, like water to thin the paint, it got really hydrophobic fast. The primer did, and it started to kind of like glop up, kind of like Rain-X on a windshield. And so that was maybe a bit no bueno. So it's been a little bit hit or miss with how I'm feeling about these pre-primed minis. But it was part of the model line, and it was like, hey, Kyle does a great job for Bill over at the Dungeon Channel. I should put in a little work for him. I'm gonna mix up some of this dark silver. You're not far off. You're not far off at all. Growing an extra limb and half an ear. Nice. Um, I missed the Frog God Games interview. I was a little disappointed in myself. I wasn't able to make that one. That one happened, but I bet it was a smash hit. I saw some fun comments about it. Some Alex Jones inspired comments. So I was thinking the other day. I wonder, there's fantasy models, there's sci-fi models. I wonder what it would be like to to try and paint historical models. I haven't done that before, and that might be something I'll have to experiment with in the future. I was after doing up this guy's like little I'm not sure what the ornamentation would be on his kind of kilt or this tunic area. After doing that, I kind of it looks almost like a Roman legion kind of thing. I thought it would be fun to paint up some Roman legionaries. Yeah, I'm definitely going back for the recording on that one. I tend to listen to him late at night. It's been really a lot of fun to watch Bill's channel explode. Yeah, airbrush questions. Let's see what I can do. Get a portable booth like yours with a filter and a fan. Is that enough to keep paint off my floors, walls, and furniture, assuming use the vent hose out the window? I don't even use a vent hose out the window. I mean, what you're getting with this, and I'll show you more here. Give me a second to maybe reorient the camera a bit. Here we go. So what you're getting here is, you know, there's this filter in the back is essentially the same kind of material that you'd find in like your furnace. It's like a furnace filter essentially. The material used and how fine the spacing is in between the fibers. That spacing there is what's keeping the size of the paint particulates out of it. So if you get like, you know, your furnace filter, the space in between the threads is probably a bit bigger than this. This is pretty fine spacing between whatever material they're using, the threads of it. So in a spray booth made for airbrush, it gets rid of almost all of it. One thing I would caution though is if you're using something that like oil-based paints or so there's other paints. I have one that's like a color shifting automotive paint that I use for like Alpha Legion where they go from like purple to blue, and I don't have the model here to show you. But the actual paint itself, whatever they have it suspended in, is acrylic. But the flecks that's inside of that, and some metallic paints as well, the flecks that are inside of that, they really bug my nostrils when I spray them. So it may be a good idea to not only get a spray booth, but take a look at getting just a really cheap respirator. And not you don't need any like CBRN cartridges for it. You just need, you know, particulate cartridges. Do you see microscopic glasses? Oh, no, honestly, I don't. For doing painting stuff like this, in my mind, as much as I love to paint these guys up, it's a hobby. I enjoy it, and I haven't really invested in like magnifying goggles. I know there's people that do, but I just don't have the extra time to devote to that. And being that picky, I'd rather just paint my models and they're gonna come out how they come out, and that's honestly just fine for me. I see, you know, there's so many things in this world that have become really synthetic and really you know, manufactured. Everything's the same over and over and over again. And I'd like to be a little different. I might have some mistakes in these minis that go out to Kyle, but you know what? He's going to have a little piece of my work in his hands, and I hope he has just a ball playing with it at some point. Or maybe he just likes looking at it, and that's great too. And that's all all I could really ask for. There's that hydrophobia I was talking about earlier. Um, right there on his leg, if you can see that white spot where the primer is, that's the paint that's actually pulled away from the primer. It's a little annoying. Honestly, if I was going to do this again, I would re-prime these with Monument Hobbies primer. I use their paint too. I think I was trying to allude to that earlier and got off track. But Monument Hobbies, they make a line called Pro Acryl, and their acrylic paint is just top notch. It'll go through an airbrush. It'll go, off your brush really easy. You get a ton of it for a very affordable amount compared to other paint brands. Everybody and their mother, brother, their dog, everybody should be using this if they're into mini painting. I really enjoy it. That's my personal opinion. If you have a paint brand that you're really stuck to, by all means, stay stuck to it because, once you find something that works, it works. But this is what's worked for me after going through many different paint brands. Indoor paint indoors. Put the printer on the stovetop and turn on the vent fan. Keeps the smell down. Okay, yeah. So that's a good question. I tend to use it's not really sandpaper. I use like sanding sticks for like mold lines. I've also been known to use like diamond, like those cheap diamond files that you can get in like automotive stores and stuff. I've used those, dental picks, you name it. I think you would be just to kind of go circle back to that question. I think you would be just fine if you got yourself a spray booth, put it on your desk, plug that sucker in, and you can spray any kind of acrylic paint. You'd be pretty much fine. Just stay away from oils and things of that nature for the most part until you know well what you're doing. Take a look at Barbados Rex on YouTube. That guy is an airbrush saint when it comes to telling it how it is on his experiences with putting different brands of paint through his airbrush and the effects that it's had. So I'd check him out for some more information. Do I have any of those sanding sticks I was talking about? Let's take a look here. So yeah, these guys are kind of what I'm talking about. They're basically like foam sticks they've got a piece of sandpaper on each side. And that's kind of how I deal with it. And I've got various different grits of those sitting around the creation cave here. In the future, I should probably do like a little tour of the creation cave because it's kind of fun. I picked up some industrial work desks from Manufacturing Center that was just trashing them. I got those for free, and they came with like really nice overhead lights and bins that you can put on top of them, like a shelving rack thing. However, I haven't unpacked half the stuff I wanted to put in here, so I'm a little embarrassed of it right now. So how's everybody doing out there? Whether it's morning, noon, or night. Everybody doing well? I hope so. Every day is a good day to be around. Yeah, that's for sure. So just got done basing his legs. Kind of going with the whole, he's wearing some kind of leg armor deal for the backside here, as well as the leather tunic thing. And I'll highlight that with silver once it dries. here we go. I'm trying to think like what people could possibly have been wearing, but I know D&D is kind of based off of like fantasy medieval kind of thing, but like what people could have possibly been wearing. And I just end up finding up a lot of leather, a lot of uh a lot of uh a lot of leather, a lot of brown spun wool kind of stuff. I'm trying to break up the monotony of it with silver. Non-metallic metal. Non-metallic metal. Um I stink at it. I'll tell you that much. I as much as I want to be everybody's one-stop shop for how to paint your stuff, I'm not great at non-metallic metal. It's really I think it's one of the more difficult painting processes that I've heard about and learned about. And I think people that can pull off non-metallic metal have some serious skills. Um, those are people who have really devoted themselves to a hobby, and it's difficult for anybody that doesn't know what non-metallic metal is. It's basically like I'm taking paint that has um, reflective chips or it has particulates in it that make it reflective. I'm kind of cheating in a sense. You get this silver color and it's a bit more radiant than your standard paint. Um, but non-metallic metal is like taking, if you were to look at a piece of plate metal and the light is shining at it from a certain perspective, and you're taking all of the colors that could have been coming from that light and then you're painting them on the model itself. And it's almost like it's like taking perspective and color theory and pushing them together onto your giant sword or whatever, and like trying to translate that to it. And it's very difficult to master. There's a lot of people that'll spend a long time trying to learn non-metallic metal, and as far as I'm concerned, uh, I I'm not that great at it, and I think it's one of those skills that it's just an overtime thing uh, that you can invest in and get yourself to become a better painter that way. But it does take a long time. Okay. Only part of that is armor. The rest of it is like cloth on his leg here. So, yeah, I kind of did a screw up here. This part down here is actually cloth. It's more like almost like goalie pads, or some kind of, in baseball, the pads for the catcher behind the batter is what he's wearing there. Did a great job um, on the detail on this, but not quite in some certain areas. How many layers do you do, and what is the maximum you've done? Um, so for me, like everybody says, two thin coats. And when I made our website, paintminislive.com, our our tagline is "Forget too thin coats. We have two thin skulls in a dream." Um, so I think I tend to do like probably two coats of paint on most areas, and it's like by the time you come back to hit it, if you're doing more than one place on a model, like a left and a right leg, when you come back to the left one, if you've thinned your paints well, it'll be dry enough to put that second layer on, and it'll hold, and you don't have to wait to get it to totally cure out. Like, you can come back and put that on there. That's kind of what I did with the shield. That I tried to kind of get this wicker look to it, where it's got more than one color brown on there, and I wanted it to be just very subtle, because it was kind of like, I thought it would be like thatched, uh, some type of thatched material. And so I just did one layer was like a dark brown, and darker colors you can usually get away with just one layer. And then the light brown I just kind of went through with my brush and like flicked it back and forth, and got these very thin lines on the shield. But I did that twice, so I ended up with, kind of a camouflaging it in there a bit. And so you really don't need too many layers at all. And the point being with that is that you don't want to cover up all that detail you just paid for. Like if you pay for, $50 for a box of Space Marines or something, you don't want to take away any of that detail. That's what you paid for. That's why you want to thin your paints, and that's, how you make your models look really really great, is by keeping all that detail around. I've never used a air dryer or anything like that. Where I live, the air tends to be just humid enough that you get a decent working time, but not, but also dry enough that you don't really have to worry about the drying time on it. And I'm not that impatient, anyways. I'm working with 2 models here. Usually, I'm painting up like 3 to 4 at a time. So by the time I'm coming back to if I'm painting them in a series like that, I'll paint up number 1 here. By the time I come back to, and then go to number 2, number 3, and by the time I come back to number 1, it'll be dry enough to work on the next spot or whatever I'm doing. And I'll prime stuff up in a batch. That way I have plenty of stuff to work on. And if it is drying, I'll just let it sit there and kind of do its thing. I'm going to shake up some white gold and do highlights on the first one in there, since we're kind of chit-chatting. And then for my paints, I literally just use a cheap nail shaker. Like this is the best thing, like best little investment that I have made, is this like Amazon nail lacquer shaker. It's a little loud, but like, and that's like 500 shakes of your bottle without having to do anything. I put it onto the ground underneath my desk, and I just hit it with my big toe. It turns it on. Give it a second or two. Turn it off. It's great for anybody who has dexterity issues or whatever, where shaking these pots like this is just a pain in the butt for you. You just got to make sure that if you close the cap on them, otherwise you're going to have more paint everywhere than you know what to do with. On my personal miniatures for clear coating, do you final clear coat to protect the paint once it's completed? On my personal miniatures, I do not. Mainly because that's a big one. That's a big question. Mainly because I want to either come back and work on them again later, and I'm relying on the protective layer that the acrylic paint makes itself. The medium that it's suspended in kind of creates that adhesion to the model. So I rely on that heavily, but that can fleck off and scratch off. But mostly because I want to come back and I want to improve as a painter, and maybe after I've improved in certain areas, I can come back to a model that I painted a year ago and say, oh yeah, now that I've learned non-metallic metal, which would take me far more than a year, but after I've learned non-metallic metal, I want to be able to be like, oh yeah, I can go right back on and paint up his sword just like that, and then bring him to the desk. I don't have to worry about clear coats and stuff like that. For Bill's model, I'll definitely end up putting a protective layer on that. That thing is, I'm gonna treat it like a museum piece because that's the kind of that's how it should be treated. So it's gonna get its own clear coat on there, and I think I'm just gonna leave it matte, like a matte varnish on it, just something to keep the paint job in and to keep anything that would degrade the metal inside of it out. Non-metallic metal looks really good from one angle, one distance, moving around, positioning the mini. That changes it. Yeah. Yeah, it's for show. I mean, it's definitely a flex on any other painter if you if you end up entering like a painting competition or something like that. It's definitely a flex on everybody else in the room, and those people will know it, and they will envy you. Um, but I've also seen non-metallic metal painters that they put that on there, and it doesn't look as good. It doesn't look as good as the guy that just went for the other effect. And that's okay. It's not totally a competition in my eyes. It's a hobby for a reason. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. I want it to be well protected. And honestly, the fact that you've made it, such an investment in these, in your models and in sharing this with other people, I want it to be something special for you as kind of a little thank you from me to you and everybody else that kind of runs across your channel. Because, oh, time for the oopsie sponge. It's another reason I keep these sponges around. Trying to do some edge highlighting and it just ended horribly. Oh well. There's your mistake, Kyle. But anyways, yeah, I want it to be well protected. It's a piece of history. Somebody somewhere worked on that. It's just like somebody at the they wouldn't just not paint the Golden Gate Bridge and let it degrade. Like, so many people worked so hard on that, even though it was in the past. Sorry, just kind of getting a little hyper focused here, trying to highlight these armored boots, and they're so tiny. It's like if you sneeze, you're gonna make your line too thick. It'll pass inspection, I'm sure. All right, let's check on the time. Holy man, they had boxes of painted minis. Honestly, I mean, I think painting models or like minis like this, it's almost like golf. A lot of people say like you learn golf, it's a skill you'll have forever. You can go out golfing when you're 80 or whatever. And for me, it's model painting. That's the skill that I'll be pursuing for a long time. It's just so cathartic. Let's see here. We should probably do get some basing going on his face. Start with a tan flesh and a pink flesh. Oh wow. Yeah, yeah. I just wonder when model painting will be, they'll have a museum of professionally painted models, or you know, just when that'll happen. The Mona Lisa of models. Who's gonna make that one? That's gonna sit in that museum. Oh, I forgot to highlight the other guy. I was having so much fun talking. Just a little bit of highlights on the. I think these were actually supposed to be leather, but we're just gonna call them metal. We're gonna fudge it. I can take a little liberty. Use dice for my Tolkien. Oh, huh. Like he wanted to give you just one of the models sitting on the wall. Is what you're saying? Because if so, that's actually pretty generous. As I just start flinging this guy around. Let's see here. Tan, flesh. Make sure you're shaking. Killer dragon with a yellow base. Green sits in the scale. Okay, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, it's been we've had dragon fever over here since working with Bill. We got a new social media person who's going to be helping us out with this project, and showing us how to deal with Instagram and kind of promoting that way. And then me and Jack have both been trying to just research what other people have done for the paint jobs on these models and finding out whether, how acrylic is working on metal minis from the past, and just whatever else we can get our hands on, so that we make sure we have a successful little project. And if you ever want to check, I'll be writing updates on our website too at paintminislive.com. Gosh, man, that's nuts. You add even this, like, it's really just loving the paint right off the pot for this. It's insane. The secret sauce of painting yellow. It sounds like it's going to be either one of those quirky Bill things, or it's going to be like uh, a literal recipe to like the most godliest yellow this earth has ever discovered. What's the secret sauce for painting yellow there? Lay it on me. I mean, I tend when I paint yellow, I usually base it in red. Believe it or not, for some reason, yellow really loves being based in red. 100% solid. Brightest shade of yellow when it dries. Brown ink wash. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, all right. Yeah, yep. I use transparent brown from Monument Hobbies. So we're basically doing the same thing, just different ways of doing it. You would use it with a like an ink, whereas I'm using like an acrylic thing. Yeah, yeah. There you go. That's hot. I love experimenting with washes over colors like that. And trying. I think they call it some brand like paint brand or like distributors, like AK and stuff. They're calling it filters. Others are calling them shades or like hue shift stuff. I can't. I have no clue why they're trying to buzzword all this stuff, but yeah, doing something like that is it makes great effects. Yep. And that's I kind of it's my repeat mantra over here on this show that like contrast, contrast, contrast is all you need. Just a little contrast. Make it pop. Find out what works. Because the more contrast you add to a model, the better. I mean, there's something to be said about having an actual paint scheme, which is why most of this guy is brown. However, I'm going to be adding contrast through things like his shield has some contrast to it. His tunic has some contrast to it with the like three shades of brown that's going on in there. I'll be washing him later when it gets to that stage in the paint job, and he's going to get even more contrast then. I mean, just layer after layer after layer of contrast, and you'll have great minis, and you'll be so happy you did it because they're going to look outstanding at the tabletop. Your friends are going to be envious. Put it that way. So, with a hint of pink, base for prime, and then did yellow. Yeah, yeah, it all depends. I kind of like the sunset orange it gives you in the shadows, is why I base in red and then go for the yellow and then wash, is kind of how I do it. Yeah, yeah, all the cracks and crevices, the adding in the shadows to it. Wet palette. I actually have one. Um, I picked up this palette a while back. I think when they first started marketing it, and it's let me just find it here. Uh, how do I lose a wet palette? Well, it was here, but I've got the card for it anyways. It's from Exemplar Games. It's their wet palette that I have, and I really enjoy that one. Um, being here it is. Here we go. Yeah, it's from Exemplar Games. This is the wet palette that I have. The inside, you can put some paintbrushes in here. You can do just regular old palette painting if you want. This is great for mixing colors, and then you've got like a little brush rack. This guy just pops right out. And then what also is nice is it's got a little breather hole in here. So when you're sticking this guy in the fridge after you're done, and by the way, if you do stick it in a fridge, like while it's wet, it'll last at least for another day. You can usually come back and grab it. As you can see, I haven't really maintained this one so well because this is actually I'm just getting back from a trip out of town, and the I was painting out there, did a couple of things, but The sponge that goes underneath this paper is really nice. You can they send you a ton of extra sponges and supplies with this thing, and they've got it on their site. It's a great little pick me up if you're looking for. Oops, sorry. It's a great little pick me up if you're looking for something in the wet palette field. I like them when I'm painting for long periods of time. The only thing is I'm only painting 2 models tonight, so I'm not really. I don't mind losing out on a little bit of paint because I'm not going to be here all night painting them. Whatever, when I stop, and then I end up with like a dirty palette like this, and eventually what'll happen is I'll get enough paint on there. I can just twist it left and right, and I'll get paint flakes that just come off. Whack at it with a sponge for a little bit in the sink, and it'll be 90% clean. And that's really all I need. I'm only using a drop or two of paint, and most of it is water that I'm thinning it with. So I'm really not losing out on that much value. But if I was going to do a dozen to 2 dozen minis sitting here, I would definitely be all over having the wet palette out. It's great for if you're going to be putting down, quite a bit of paint. But if you're only doing a couple of drops or whatever have you, it's probably not in your interest to have a wet palette going, which is kind of why I don't. I just a couple drops here or there, random spots on the palette. Add a little water to it if I need to, and we're off to the races. All right, let's see here. Favorite way to give rust or antique effects? You guys are running me through the gambit. All right. I love it. Let's put that on hold for a minute. Yeah, I do have a favorite way. Here you go. This is my favorite way. AK Streaking Grime, and then you've got their White Spirit. I'm pretty sure this is just Mineral Spirit, but you get 100 mil for like $20. I guess I'll pay just to make sure the 2 products work together, but I'm pretty sure this is just straight Mineral Spirits. I'm not sure exactly what what it actually is though. So, Streaking Grime, I don't know what is in here, but to me, this is basically liquid 40k in a bottle. For me, anyways. It is great. And as you can see on the bottle, it's got kind of this streaked grime effect. It's streaking grime, but when you stick this puppy on something, you don't have to streak it off. It works really well as for making something like. Do I have? Yeah, here we go. It works really well for making nasty-looking zombies look really nasty. And it hides in cracks and crevices, and it blends its own colors in to the model a bit. But I mean, this guy looks pretty nasty. And when I got done with him, this guy basically was just based. I did some red splotching on his nasty bits, and then I tossed this Streaking Grime on there. And what you do is you let it rest on the model for about 10 minutes till it's just like tacky or less than tacky. Almost getting to dry. Grab yourself a makeup brush, wedge, or sponge, or not makeup brush, but like a makeup wedge or sponge. And then in one of your wells here, I just put some of this White Spirits, dip it in there, and then use the sponge to like lightly start rubbing it off on places you want the highlight and the rest of the color to really come out. And it just makes everything look grungy, nasty. So if you're looking for an effect like that, definitely have a go at AK's Streak and Grime. It makes everything look rough and shabby and nasty, rusty, antique too. Yeah, blotting, definitely blotting with the sponges. That would be the way to go. Going back to wet palette when you go back to painting. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna be painting for an extended period of time, I would definitely go with a wet palette. Otherwise, um, if you're only gonna be down there for 45 minutes, just trying to get done what you can get done in that amount of time, you may not even need a wet palette. Your paint will still be fine. Um, I'm just trying to get his face based here. Yeah, I appreciate you guys for coming on. By the way, it's always nice to have the Delver crew over for a little. Hi, how you doing? Say, Bill, are you thinking about maybe making that timeline video? I was super intrigued about your TSR thing, man. That was really interesting to watch. I really enjoyed that. It was kind of crazy how that dude tried to weasel his way around. Oh, really? That's hot. Oh, I was just asking, like a little timeline of how like the development of Dungeons and Dragons from like, you know, it came from uh Gary's Gary's house at such and such a date, and then TSR took it over, and then from TSR it went to Hasbro and Wizards, but like just a timeline of the like more not corporate past, but um like all of the mergers that have happened, just the business history of Dungeons and Dragons the game. Also, how long do you estimate from start to finish on a single model? If I'm really trucking at it, these guys are probably they. I was hoping to have them done by about 8 o'clock. For just all of the basing and detail work with just the paint, so that I could come back later on. I could probably come back tomorrow and do the weathering effects on him, because I'd rather not do weathering effects on wet paint. It just does not look good. So I'd say anywhere between, from true start to finish is probably about um, six. Well, there's 4 hours here of painting that I've been doing, um, or will have done by the time I end the stream, and then probably another couple hours tomorrow morning. Probably about six man hours, I would say, that get put into one. I think the last model paint up I did was like, oh, that's good to hear. I'm excited to hear about that. I think the last paint up that I did though for my Death Guard Plague Marines, I think that was a probably about three-parter at 4 hours a piece. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12 hours for three Marines. And granted, I was kind of doing that as a showpiece, because I wanted people to see what we were kind of capable of doing here. uh, with our skills and put the right foot forward out on the internet. I'm not looking to impress anybody, but um, there's something to be said about giving yourself a little air of credibility, anyways. So we got. You have a favorite model you've painted? Uh, well, I think I am gonna have a favorite, um, and I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's. Yeah. Let's just say I got to keep that one under wraps. I have a favorite sculpt, um, that is yet to be painted. Um, as for favorite, they're all kind of your favorite. You know, you put so much time and effort into each one of them. But I'm pretty sure there is one that's going to take the cake. Um, I think the one that I think the red dragon's definitely going to be up there as a nice talking point. I think for uh, I've got another piece that I'm going to be working on that I'm not going to release until Bill gets his dragon back. Uh, and I think that one's going to turn out really well. However, it's gonna be really tough to keep my mouth shut about it. I'm absolutely horrible with secrets, and I've got to try desperately not to spill the beans. What about you guys? Do you happen to have a favorite model that you've painted, or one that you haven't painted but you really like the sculpt of, and you're like, yeah, when I get to that, I'm gonna make sure it's done right. Or maybe just a model you've seen from somebody else. You happen to have a favorite? Get a little bit more water on my brush. Always good to have a clean brush. Also, this guy's his sword, I guess he's got he's got this kind of right side curve on his sword going. I thought to myself just now, I was like, I guess it's not the shape of the sword, but how you use it, right? That's the moral of the story with this figure. Do you paint outside miniatures? Oh, like, are you talking about like outside of just painting models? Like, do I paint on canvas or something? Is that what you're asking? Connect. Is it connect? Connect? Hmm. Connect. I think it's connect. You let me know if I'm saying that right. Man, I can't imagine what the shipping cost is going to be like on this. Going to like, I think he said he was from New Zealand. Correct me if I'm wrong. I better just like put this guy back in the case that it came in. That's probably going to be the most economic method, is to just put it back in the case it came in and then wrap it maybe in like paper or something. So the plastic is, I'm going to be banking on the plastic to protect it, but the smallest box I can get is probably going to be the best. Kakin Kani Well, that's knee. Ka knee Q. Kani Q. Okay, got it. Got it. Oh, that's nice. You had sled dogs decades ago. Melbourne, Australia. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm willing to foot the bill. Hopefully, I can just, obviously, I'm trying to get it there for as cheap as possible, but I bet it'll tickle him pink, and that's kind of why I'm doing it. Well, say kind of cute. If you're ever up in my neck of the woods, maybe you can, if you maybe you ever ran the bear grease. Oh, Q knee. Uh, Q and knee together. Oof. That's tough, man. That's a tough one to pronounce. Okay, cool, cool. Yeah, I used to volunteer at the Bear Grease. All right, now I gotta figure out his hair. I don't think it does. God, I'd have to go back through one of your videos. What color hair does Kyle have? Does he have hair? I'd have to go back and look. I was thinking, this guy's supposed to have dreadlocks, but I guess like we could do it up any color. Let's see if I can find it on the. Do you happen to have a thumbnail of him? Hmm. Yeah, it's in Minnesota. Yes, he's got hair. I thought so. He's got darker hair, right? Is it? I think it was like kind of like auburn or something. Brown hair. Yeah, That's kind of what I was thinking. This guy's already brown, and now he's got brown hair. Mm. We'll make it like we'll try like a dirty blonde or something. Charcoal black. Yeah, screw it. We'll give him brown hair too. Oh well. We'll give him mahogany hair, I guess. Okay, yeah, you're gonna send me a picture. At least that way I can kind of color match it. I was, I if you're playing D&D and you've got your model, you know, kind of like an actor's, you can put a costume on an actor, but it's not going to change the fact that they got brown hair. I mean, I guess they could dye their hair or whatever, but wouldn't it be nice if it was, some at least somewhat similar? Also, if you guys wouldn't mind a little feedback on the music, like just the volume of it. I try to put something on the background because sometimes I just zone in and it's hard to get out of. So I try to have something in the background, but um, I can never tell if it's too loud or too quiet. And also, like royalty free music is not the best, but it's what I've got. There you go. Okay. Dang, he looks like he could lift that whole gym. All right, yeah. So, yeah, I think like we'll do a mix. It looks like, he's got a pretty dark hair. 4077 would be fun to paint someday. 4077. I'm not sure what that is. You'll have to refresh my memory. He's got really dark hair, though. That's yeah, he's got really dark. We'll go with the dark brown and maybe try and highlight up from there. MASH 4077. I'll have to look that one up. I might just be having a brain fart. Oh, okay, got it. That's their. Okay. A winged mutation. Yeet. I love it. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. Like some kind of winged mutant. We're doing a lot of wings these days. All right, where was I? I'm never gonna get this done if I keep procrastinating. Uh, the TV show MASH. Yeah, yeah, okay. I just looked it up. Yeah. My parents actually introduced me to MASH, but um I was quite young when that was doing reruns on the TV. Just gonna thin that down a bit. I thought that was a pretty ingenious TV show idea, though. MASH, what a wild idea. Like, let's turn the Vietnam War into a comedy. How that got greenlit is beyond me. I mean, just in that like time, I'm sure that was super controversial. Nice. Trying to be really careful around his. Oh, the Korean War. There we go. Trying to remember all the history classes. I actually took AP history, and I'm a little sad that I pulled the error on that one. My parents had to keep telling me, Bill, you gotta turn the military channel off. All right, mom. I'd go outside and then we'd play Army Men in the backyard. Just a bunch of like little young kids running around the backyard with poppet guns. Okay, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Uh, TV was definitely open to a lot more controversy. It's unfortunate I can't get my brush all the way down in there. We're not even gonna try. Um, Now we've got to turn it into hair, which is gonna be tough because I already reused the same highlight that I like using for hair already on the shield, and I don't want him to look like he's. So I think we're gonna just kind of cheat. We're gonna cheat a little bit. We're gonna go the opposite direction and try and make shadows within the hair already. Okay, they mentioned Vietnam in the last episode, huh? Kind of like, wasn't there a British TV series that was like called Over the Wire or something like that? And in the last episode, they actually go over the wire for to like do their thing, but they're in the trenches like from the start to basically the end of the show. Something like that. It's super moving the end scene from that show. If I can figure out the name, I'll definitely have to let you guys know. Where the hell is Vietnam? You know, it's like the older I get, I'm your average 20 something year old kind of guy. So the older I get, the more I realize the further back in time I want to know about, you know? Like you just kind of want to soak up all that information that the older generations got. You know, learning about, somebody who had sled dogs. Like that's really cool. I want to know about that. None of my friends have had sled dogs. Learning about, the TV show MASH, although I didn't, necessarily watch it, I still like learning about it and the fact that it had big impacts on society's opinions. Wow, that is a gorgeous color. I think this is going to work out pretty well. Kind of looks like it's a very nice reddish brown color. They mix their paints so well over at Monument. I keep saying it over and over again. If you need some mini paints, you are investing so you're investing really well if you plan on going with monument stuff. Um, if you got another brand that you really like working with and you like working with that, work with that. But if you're just starting off and you want a good recommendation, they have some great stuff. So I'm just adding this mahogany to his hairline, just in like literally random places. It's gonna kind of look a little spotty, but human hair, to me, anyways, has a little bit of spotty going on in it here and there, and it kind of breaks up the monotony of the same color over and over again. When it dries, it'll look more like kind of that darker hair color because it's got a little red in it. I'm not sure if that's really going to show up on camera, but at least you can kind of see the sheen from the wet paint and know that I did it, and I'm not just lying. It does look really brown though, but when it dries and I put a second coat over it, it'll definitely look a bit better. I'm just gonna base this other guy in the same mahogany color. It'll come out basically the same way if I do it the reverse direction, I'm sure. I probably should have just started with this, to be honest. Rowan Atkinson. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That must be what I was referring to earlier. Huh. What do we got for time? So I've got about a half hour left here on stream for my scheduled contribution to society here. Um, Before I call it quits and head out to whatever I'm gonna do next. I think I might pick up my guitar. I'm due for a little practice. I uh, I recently got serious about it and got a nice guitar. Um, Started learning some licks and stuff. It's been going pretty well. I've been trying to write like a classic rock style anthem for the show, just to have something besides, "Hey, it's me again. How you doing?" But that's probably what I'll end up doing after this. What's everybody else's plan for their evening, noon, or night? Season 4 of Stranger Things. Yeah, there you go. Do you pre-plan with colors that they change either lighter or darker as they dry? How do they interact with balancing each other? Um, Rocking back and forth and clutching my knees in existential dread and anxiety. I'll make sure to send you some cookies you can eat in the shower there, Bill. I'll get those going to your neck of the woods right away. Um, uh, I can't wait till Sarah hears that one. Um, by the way, Sarah, yeah, Sarah's gonna be doing some social media for our project. She's a new member of the Paint Minis live team, and she's just a hoot. Um, do I pre-plan with colors that change either lighter or darker as I dry? Yeah, I do. You can see right here on the shield, it like the texturing and the model kind of looked like it was like some kind of wicker material, and so I kind of went with that, and I picked a brown that was really dark and a brown that was just like a shade lighter. And I know that when this brown goes on, it looks really light, but when it dries just a hue brighter than the shade underneath it. So I do tend to pre-plan a decent amount of like ahead of time. And for the first probably about 10 minutes of the stream, it was nothing but me thinking about what is he wearing? What colors do those things are those things usually? Uh, and then looking at paints that I have available to me. I don't have a full range of paints. I've got a good collection. Um, but you know, looking at what I have in on hand and what I can do with it. Um, and how I might plan going forward too, because there's a couple of parts on these minis that I've looked at and um, I've changed partway through, and I just covered it over that with a different color because it the most models you can kind of look at it and you're like, oh yeah, that is definitely a dagger, or that is definitely a belt. Well, on this guy, it the detail is so smushed into his like figure. I didn't even realize there's two like daggers that are sitting in his belt. One that's over here and another that's on the other side of him, right down there. It's kind of like a curved blade. So I'll have to go back through it and redo those. Even though they're brown, I don't have to necessarily worry about it. I'll just make sure that when I do layer over it, I layer enough that I can fix those mistakes on the fly like that. Which is part of the fun. I tend to use color theory a lot in my painting. So since this whole model is brown, I chose to do the armor in like a darker silver just to kind of keep some continuity while also bringing in other colors. I used brass instead of silver for things like the spear tip. Sorry. For the spear tips, I used bronze instead of silver, which I thought was kind of a nice addition. But it also keeps all of the colors fairly in the same family, so that as I'm painting here, everything looks like it should be there. Uh, Also, if you're looking at things like, is that all dried up? Yeah, it sure is. If you're looking at things like if you have a green miniature, blue is always a great addition. And doing color transitions from green to blue is a great way to add a lot of interest to your model without having to go too far away from your original color, and making it like, green and red would definitely clash. Not only that, but it's iconic Christmas colors. But it makes sense. Age is definitely only a number, and it's not how many years old you are, it's how many years young. Because that old, I think it's Frank Sinatra. um the best of us are, stay young at heart, I guess, is basically the main message of that song. And I'm a kid every day. It's just I'm a kid with a larger body and a larger waistline. And that is A-okay. How far did I take the beard? I took it all the way up the face. Okay. There we go. Always something that I'm catching on the way through this. The most colors I've used on one model. Um, I'll show you an older. This is kind of a blast from the past. This guy is a smattering of too many different greens. Um, and it all kind of congealed into one color pretty quick. But this was a very early on model that I did. Hey, what's up, Viking? I didn't know we were having celebrities come over. I would have dressed nicer. I would have prepared, like, just in a t-shirt. Where's my tuxedo? Good to see you. Good to see you. What are we sitting at for time? All right. I think this guy definitely needs a different color for his whatever this like. I think he just threw a hoodie around his around himself, like, middle school style or soccer mom style. So I feel like I gotta have that be a different color, and I kind of want it to be a little outlandish. Um, So I'm going to take out blue. And since we're working with brown, let's see, brown, red. I feel like a camo green wouldn't be great. But this jade color is looking pretty poppin'. That might work out well because it's such a muted color. When it dries, it's really flat, which I enjoy. So we might toss a little of that on there. Yeah, we'll do that. Oh yeah, I am gonna breast. Yeah, the breakfast of champions. I love it. I love it. Mountain Dew, the breakfast of champions. When I was younger, man, I was that. It definitely was. I've cut back my consumption hardcore since then. Uh, it's definitely gone a little bit downhill. I can't drink it after a certain time, otherwise I'll be up till like 3 in the morning on a work night or something. Celebrities. Yeah, that's not gonna look too bad. Especially if I toss like a black wash over this jade color. It'll turn out pretty well, I think. What do you guys think? I don't know. This is at the point where I can choose to change it. If I go much further, might be a little different. I'll have to do something to mute that down. I'll definitely. Oversized, comfy, warm, dark clothes. Gotcha. Oh, if you can't tell, my brain's already starting to get a little taxed. Let's just throw them back in there. Um, yeah, we'll try it out real quick. What's the worst that happens? I gotta cover over it again. Yeah, teal is definitely gonna clash with the rest of the brown, but I think I got a way to make it work. We're gonna shade this right back into a darker color. I don't know. We'll find out. We're experimenting on stream. Like I said, Kyle's gonna get a custom model. That hydrophobia on the primer is really coming back to bite me. Can't really get under him very well with the paintbrush. Road Warden. Mm, there you go. Yeah, I've been thinking about the the pre planning on that dragon has been pretty hardcore. I've been thinking about how to do that, and I think it's all gonna end in the the best part is gonna happen when the like shading and the after effects really come into play. I think the highlighting is gonna be pretty essential. I've got a lot of reds and oranges that are already um, that I've got on hand that I think are gonna look great on that model. Um, and warm colors like red are always great to work from because um, you can always move into brown. You can move to yellow. You can move to purple really easy too. And I think purple is what I'm going to use for shadow tone on that because um, it's one of those kind of cool colors to add with red. That doesn't look too crazy. I think the shade color on that's going to be green. Okay, this song is starting to annoy me. It's really hard to find anything that's like copyright free, so you don't get struck on Reddit, or not Reddit, but on YouTube here. It's hard to find music that I don't have a album or anything I've put out myself yet, so trying to find something that you can use royalty free is kind of tough. Um, dark silver. Yeah, we'll go with the white gold for. Whoa. Wow. Okay, that was definitely a read I wasn't expecting on stream tonight. Wow. Okay, so yeah, so you kind of wiped their work for us, huh? That's great. That's great. After listening to Kyle talk about um, the how play is an important part of being an adult, that really opened my mind up to how important some of these social games are, and how I wish more people would play them. Just because I feel like, you know, a lot of people can learn things from each other through playing them. Wow, I really botched the mix on that. Yeah, yeah. If they're a threat, got to get out of the village. kind of like it. I tried doing white gold for his like this kind of gold collar. At least the box art calls for like a very like a just like a solid gold thing, but to me that felt a little cliche. And I wanted to go with something a bit less. Where's the oops sponge? All right, I'll have to go back over that. Raised a dead party member. Move their own corpse to get it back to a temple to raise them. They made a pack mule out of him. Sorry, Randy. We used your corpse as a dead pack mule on our way back to base. Sorry about that, man. I really liked the fact that Dungeons and Dragons models, they were actually fairly affordable compared to like Games Workshop, and holy man, I could talk for about an hour about how egregious their pricing is. But I was actually super happy. You could get a model for relatively inexpensively through this, with Dungeons and Dragons. So I was pretty impressed. One might say I might even be a convert to D&D models just for like practicing on, because I would definitely go back to that game store and support them again and buy more of these pre-primed models. Although I would reprime them for sure. I have not played Advanced Dungeons and Dragons before. I'd be interested to do it. I'm still a little fuzzy on the mechanics, but I did watch some of Bill's videos from like a long time ago. I did watch some of his videos when he was first starting out on YouTube. I think was back when he had like a crash course for learning Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and I watched a couple of videos through that and got some of the basics, but I really want to go through that again and like uh, maybe do that for a group and play AD&D with a group. What am I gonna do for under? Use some of this mahogany on his pants, I guess. They must have some kind of specialized primer on here. I think they're really just thinking that most people are going to take it right from the pot, and that's why their primer is this specific way. But I'm not really a huge fan of it. We can hook you up. Yeah, I'm in the right place for it. I'm in the right place. Wow, they are playing nothing but this like hardcore dance music. There we go. Now that it's now that it's kind of drying, it's got a blue hue on the camera, but it's much more jade color going on. I think I'm just gonna put some green in the recesses on its way out. What are we doing on time here? It's 8:03. This might be a tomorrow thing. By the way, thanks for showing up, everybody. Everybody who came, I appreciate it. It's good to see all you guys, and I hope you find a nice, comfy chair here at Paint Minis Live. You're always welcome. I think, just for the sake of my sanity, I'm gonna let these guys dry. I'm gonna think about them some more. What else I can kind of do here before I go on to step number 2, which is going to be the final detailing and washing kind of part of this. I think with that being said, I'm going to sauce these guys on the spinner and set up the camera for the end of the show shot. And I'll call that good after a minute or two. We'll get a couple revolutions on in the photo booth box. Let's see. Take these guys. Give me just a moment to set up the cameras here. So, what'd you guys think of the stream? You got any feedback? You guys have been awfully chatty in the chat, which is always appreciated. But I'm always looking for feedback, ways to improve, things you'd like to see, things you wouldn't. Just let me know what you think, either now or later, or you can always DM me on YouTube or Discord too. I'm in the Dungeon Delvers Discord there too, if you guys want to hit me up in there. Alright, let's switch over to the rotating cam. Hey, what's up, RPG Grandma? Okay, yeah, I remember talking with you. It's good to see you again, Sapphire. And also, great job playing, too. I like the Gamma World stream. Hey, no problem. So that's, as you guys see those little guys rotating. Yeah, that's tonight's work so far. Just kind of got through the majority of the basing of them. I think tomorrow off stream, I'm going to be doing some more detail work just because I want to make sure that Kyle can get his mini within a reasonable time for his birthday. I wasn't totally aware as when that was going to be, and I saw the stream. I was like, oh, wish I would have prepared a little sooner. So yeah, hopefully we'll be doing that and getting the detail work done, and hopefully sometime next week I can get to the post office and send that off to him for his birthday. He requested the Human Fighter, and so far this is my take. If you guys like, I'll keep posting updates in the like 3D printing section or what have you. I haven't really seen anything on Delver stuff specifically for mini painting. So, but I'll just toss it in there if you want to check up on it. My schedule is usually every Saturday, 4 p.m. to 8 Central Standard Time. But with that, thanks again for coming, everybody. I'm gonna leave it here because I'm a little fried uh, from a long day's worth of painting here. And take care, stay safe, and we'll see you all again on next Saturday if you'd like to come back. All right, take care, everyone. Bye bye.